Nneka, a beautiful but wicked woman, had always been envious of Nwachukwu family's property. She plotted to get into the family by marrying Mr. Nwachukwu. Despite his initial rejection due to her bad character, Nneka met with Eze Idibia, the eyes of the gods, and explained her intention to destroy the Nwachukwu family from within. Eze Idibia, despite his hatred for Nneka, offering her body in return for the charms. "Can you give me charms to use on Nwachukwu, Adaku husband, to make him love and marry me?" Nneka asked Eze Idibia. "I will give you my body in return," she added. Eze Idibia accepted and gave her powerful charms to use on Mr. Nwachukwu. Nneka used the charm on the path of Mr. Nwachukwu's farm, where he would often walk. Despite his initial resistance, Mr. Nwachukwu found himself loving Nneka and started talking to her. Adaku, Mr. Nneka's wife, warned him about Nneka's bad character, but he wouldn't listen. "My dear husband, be careful of Nneka. She is not a good person," Adaku cautioned. Adaku, being a kind and cool-headed person, supported her husband's decision to marry Nneka, hoping that she would change. Nneka's intentions were evil. She hated Adaku and her children, Chidi and Ifeoma. Nneka wanted to get rid of Adaku, so she went back to Eze Idibia and requested, "Are you sure you want to do this, Nneka?" Eze Idibia questioned. "Yes, I want Adaku dead," Nneka confirmed. She got the charms to poison Adaku's food. Adaku died, and the community was sad and shocked. Everyone loved Adaku, and her death was surprising. Chidi and Ifeoma wanted to find out who killed their mother. "Who killed our mother?" Chidi asked their father. "We must investigate my mother's death," Ifeoma added. They asked their father to investigate, but Nneka didn't want that. She didn't want anyone to know she was responsible for Adaku's death. Nneka thought that if Chidi and Ifeoma found out, they would embarrass her. "Don't bother, it's just Adaku's time to go," Nneka said to her husband Nwachukwu and his children. "We know you are behind this, Nneka," Chidi accused. "How dare you? I'm just trying to help your father," Nneka fetched innocence. So Nneka went back to Eze Idibia and got charms to make Nwachukwu blind. Now Nwachukwu wouldn't see or investigate. Chidi and Ifeoma suspected Nneka was behind everything because she didn't like them. Nneka told Nwachukwu not to try to find out who killed Adaku. She said it was Adaku's time to die. But Chidi and Ifeoma knew something was wrong. They went to Eze Idibia, but instead of telling them the truth, told Nneka. Nneka had planned with Eze Idibia, "Come to Nwachukwu's family and tell the villagers that Chidi and Ifeoma were responsible for their parents' predicament, Adaku's death, and Nwachukwu's blindness." Eze Idibia appeared. "Chidi and Ifeoma are responsible for Adaku's death and Nwachukwu's blindness." Nneka seized the opportunity. "You see, they are the ones who killed their mother and blinded their father, after all." Nwachukwu, heartbroken, rejected his children. "Leave my side, you wicked children." The villagers chased Chidi and Ifeoma out of the village. "You are no longer welcome here." As they departed, Chidi and Ifeoma proclaimed their innocence. "We didn't do this. Nneka is the one. Nneka is the evil one behind this." but their words fell on deaf ears. Nneka, who initially said it was Adaku's time to die, accused Chidi and Ifeoma of killing their mother and blinding their father. Nwachukwu rejected them, and the villagers chased them out of their families and village. But Chidi and Ifeoma knew they were innocent. And Nneka was the one who did everything. They left Umodim village devastated and crying, with no one to help them, or at least believe they were innocent. As Chidi and Ifeoma wandered out of their community, they stumbled upon a kind-hearted stranger, Mrs. Inyoma. "Please, help us. We are disowned by our parents and we don't know what to do," Chidi pleaded. Mrs. Inyoma listened intently to their tales of woe and decided to take them under her wing, bring them to the city. "Don't worry, children, I will take care of you. Come with me," she said. Initially, Mrs. Inyoma thought of utilizing the siblings as house help, but soon discovered their exceptional qualities, their remarkable personality, good habits, and the love they shared with her daughter Nkechi. "I know you two are special. You have a good heart and a strong spirit. I want to help you succeed," Mr. Ugo, Mrs. Inyoma's husband, said. As they flourished academically, Mr. Ugo adopted them, and they became an integral part of the family. "Thank you, Father. We won't let you down," Chidi said. "We are so glad to have you two in our family," Mrs. Inyoma added. Chidi and Ifeoma's success knew no bounds as they graduated and took over Mr. Ugo's family business. "We couldn't have done it without your help, ma'am. Thank you for believing in us," Ifeoma said. Nkechi, a beautiful young lady, had been confined to a wheelchair for years. Her life forever changed by a devastating accident that claimed the life of her only brother. Despite her physical limitations, Nkechi's spirit remained unbroken and her heart remained full of love. "I know I am not like other girls, but I want to live full life too," she said. As she bonded with Chidi and Ifeoma, her life began to blossom once more. "You can do anything you set your mind to, Nkechi. Don't let your disability hold you back," Chidi said. "We are always here for you, Nkechi. We love you," Ifeoma added. The trio formed an unbreakable bond, their love and support for each other a beacon of hope in the face of adversity. "I'm glad to have you two in my life. You make me feel like I can do anything," Nkechi said. As the years passed, Chidi and Ifeoma's success continued to soar, but their hearts remained rooted in their humble beginnings. "We are always grateful for the kindness you showed us, Mrs. Inyoma and Mr. Ugo. You changed our lives," Chidi said. In a world filled with challenges, they found solace in each other's company. Their bond, a testament of power of love and resilience. "We love you too, guys. You are the best thing that's ever happened to me," Nkechi said. Nkechi had secretly fallen in love with Chidi, but her disability and fear of rejection held her back from expressing her feelings. "Father, I have something important to tell you. I've fallen in love with Chidi, but I'm afraid he might reject me because of my disability," said Nkechi. She confided in her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ugo, who were determined to ensure their daughter's happiness. Mr. Ugo, in particular, was resolute in his decision to inform Chidi of Nkechi's feelings and persuade him to marry her. Don't worry, my dear. I will talk to Chidi and make sure he takes care of you. Mr. Ugo, but father, I don't want you to force him. I want him to love me for who I am, Nkechi said. However, unknown to them, Chidi had already found love with Ugomma, and their relationship was blossoming. Ugomma's family, though disapproved of Chidi due to his unknown parentage and adopted status, they insisted that Chidi needed to reconcile with his biological parents before any further decision about marriage could take place. Chidi, my boy, I want you to marry my daughter Nkechi. She's a good girl and she loves you, Mr. Ugo. I'm sorry, sir, but I don't feel the same way. I see Nkechi as a sister, not a romantic partner, Chidi said. What do you mean? You are perfect for each other. I understand that you want us to be together, but I've already found someone else. I'm in love with Ugomma, said Chidi. And who is Ugomma? I don't want you to marry anyone else. That's final, Mr. Ugo commanded. Meanwhile, Mr. Ugo remained steadfast in his desire for Chidi to marry Nkechi. Despite Chidi's clear disinterest, Chidi saw Nkechi as a sister and not a romantic partner. As the tension mounted, Ugomma's family learned about Chidi's troubled past and his wicked stepmother, which further solidified their disapproval. Mr. Ugo, Nkechi's father, embarked on a business trip to the UK, leaving Chidi and Nkechi to decide before his return. However, Chidi seized the opportunity to visit his ancestral home in Umodim. They have missed their father and hope to reconcile with him and find closure. Little did they know that this journey would be a turning point in their lives, leading them to confront their past and fight for their future. Ifeoma was hesitant to return to Umodim, still harboring resentment towards their wicked stepmother. I don't know if I can forgive her, Chidi. She's responsible for our situations, she said. However, her brother encouraged her to embrace forgiveness and confront their past. I understand how you feel, but we have to forgive our father. It's the only way we can move on, Chidi said. Upon arriving in the village, they discovered that their father, Mr. Onwanchukwu, had passed away a few months ago. Before his death, Mr. Onwanchukwu had expressed deep regrets for not reconciling with his children and had cursed their wicked stepmother for her cruel actions. I'm so sorry for not being there for you both. Please forgive me, Mr. Onwanchukwu's spirit said in a dream. Eze Idibia, the eyes of the gods, had also met its own demise. Haunted by the vengeful spirit of Onwanchukwu, Chidi and Ifeoma found their stepmother living in poverty and ostracized by the entire village. We can't change the past, but we can change how we feel about it. Let's forgive her and move on, Chidi said. Despite their initial reluctance, they were visited by their father's spirit in a dream, urging them to forgive their stepmother and take her with them. Please forgive her and take her with you. I blessed you both before I died, and I want you to extend our blessings to her, Mr. Chidi's spirit said. However, they were now faced with the harsh reality of forgiving the person responsible for their parents' demise. But why should we forgive her? She doesn't deserve it, Ifeoma said. Their stepmother's action had left them without a father or a mother, and the siblings were torn between their desire for justice and their needs to forgive. I know it's hard, but we have to forgive her. We can't let our anger and resentment consume us, Chidi said. As they grappled with this moral dilemma, they realized that forgiveness was the only way to truly move forward and find peace. "You're right. I'm sorry. I forgive her," Ifema said. With heavy heart, they decided to forgive their stepmother and take her with them, hoping to find closure and healing in the process. "We forgive you. We want to help you and take you with us," Chidi said. The stepmother was taken aback by their generosity and kindness. "I'm so sorry for what I did to you both. I was blinded by my own ambition and greed," she said in tears. "We know, but we want to help you and show you that we are not like you. We are willing to forgive and move on," Ifeoma replied, also in tears. As they left the village with their stepmother, they felt a sense of closure and healing. They knew that they had made the right decision in forgiving her and taking her with them. "Thank you for forgiving me. I don't deserve it, but thank you," their stepmother said. "We are just glad we can move forward now. We want to help you and support you," Chidi said. And so, they began their new journey together, one of forgiveness, healing, and redemption. Mrs. Inyoma welcomed Chidi's stepmother, Nneka, into their home, but she wasn't thrilled about it. "I don't know if this is a good idea," she thought to herself. "I was hoping Chidi would marry my daughter, Nkechi. She's a good and gentle soul, despite being wheelchair-bound." But Nkechi, who had fallen deeply in love with Chidi, refused to let her father pressure him. She called her father on phone. "Father, I know Chidi doesn't love me in the same way, but I want him to be happy," she said. But her father still insists on paying deaf ears to her pleas. One night, Mrs. Nneka, Chidi's stepmother, spoke words of wisdom to Nkechi. "Nkechi, my dear, I know you love Chidi, but he doesn't love you in the same way. You should let him go and marry Ugomma. Loving people also means letting them decide what they want and support them to have it. Forcing them to love you against their wish is selfishness. Besides, Ugomma is a good woman and will make him happy. If his happiness is important to you, then let him go." Nkechi thought about this and decided to talk to her father the next morning. "Father, I've been thinking, and I want to let go of my desire to marry Chidi. I think he should marry Ugomma," she said. "I will let him go and marry Ugomma if that's what he wants." Mr. Ugo wasn't happy, but he loved his daughter so much that he agreed to her wishes. "Okay, my dear, if that's what you want, then I will accept Ugomma as my daughter-in-law, but I'm still not convinced that Chidi is making the right choice." When Chidi heard about what happened, he was overjoyed. "Thank you, Mrs. Nneka, for your wisdom. I realize now that my father asked us to forgive you because you had truly changed and were now a force for good." Nneka smiled and hugged Chidi. "I'm just glad I could help, my dear. I want this family to be happy and at peace. And I'm glad you are marrying Ugomma. She is a wonderful woman." Ugomma was thrilled when Chidi told her the news. "I'm so happy, Chidi. I know we'll be happy together." She hugged and thanked Mrs. Nneka for convincing Nkechi. One fateful Sunday, the family were sitting in the living room when a handsome man, Obinna, knocked on the door. "I'm so glad I can finally find you, Nkechi," he said, his eyes shining with love. "I've been searching for you everywhere." Nkechi's heart skipped a beat as she saw Obinna, the same man who had been after her heart in high school before her accident left her wheelchair-bound. "Obinna, I can't believe it's really you," she exclaimed and struggled to stand up with excitement, but her legs failed her. Obinna had been abroad studying and working, but had finally returned to marry the love of his life. "Nkechi, I've never stopped loving you. Nkechi, he said, taking her hand in his. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. He knelt right away and proposed to Nkechi. Nkechi was overjoyed to see Obinna, and the two quickly rekindled their lost love. I've missed you so much, Obinna, she said, tears of happiness streaming down her face. I thought I'd never see you again. They both hugged each other. Meanwhile, Chidi's father returned from his business trip and joined Chidi and his mother, Mrs. Nneka, on a visit to Ugomma's family to seek her hand in marriage. We are so glad you could come, Ugomma's mother said, welcoming them with open arms. We've heard so much about you. Ugomma's family was delighted to receive them, and the two couples, Ugomma and Chidi, and Obinna and Nkechi, all got married on the same day. I'm so happy to see my children happy, Mrs. Nyoma said, beaming with love. Mr. Ugo, Chidi's father, was thrilled to sponsor the double wedding. This is the happiest day of my life, he said, tears of joy streaming down his face. Mrs. Nneka, Chidi's stepmother, lived happily with them. I'm so grateful to find redemption, she said, her eyes shining with tears. I was once truly a wicked stepmother, but now I've found love and forgiveness. The two families became incredibly close, and their love and happiness were palpable. We are all blessed to have found each other, Ugomma said, smiling at Chidi. As they all celebrated their love and happiness together, it was clear that their bonds would only continue to grow stronger with time. In the end, love triumphed as each person found their perfect match. Love has brought us together, Nkechi said, her eyes shining with happiness. The families were united in love and happiness, and Nkechi and Obinna's love story serving as a shining example of true love's power. Our love story is a testament to the power of true love, Obinna said, his eyes shining with adoration. Chidi and Ugomma union, built on forgiveness and new beginnings, was a beautiful testament to the transformative power of love and forgiveness. We are all grateful for second chances, Chidi said, his eyes shining with gratitude. And so, the two families lived happily ever after, their love and happiness a shining example to all.